Finishes and factions, catching action.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finishers and Factions Does NXT from Cincinnati, Ohio. It is me, Adam, and we've got my co-host, Rich. Rich, how's it going?
That's going all good, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad at all.
Hope you listeners are all doing well as well.
Of course. So in Cincinnati, Ohio, we are coming in from the Andrew J. Brady Music Center, which commentary took great delight in reminding us constantly that the venue was more or less sold out, that it was standing room only, and had a very sort of PLE type feel to it, which, do you know what? I can't really disagree with.
I mean, to be fair, if you look at the match card, it's a PLE match card. We've got several title defenses, several title matches. We've got a TNA and NXT crossover match as well. Or we've got two of them, sorry. Both of them are title matches. So automatically we've already got three sort of huge matches already coming up that have got titles on the line for. And then we've already got that massive tag match at the end. So yeah, it's definitely a PLE style weekly episode.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, let's start as we mean to go on. We're going to dive right into match one, which is where NXT started this week.
Which I love about NXT for doing this as well. You get straight into the meat and veggies.
Oh, 100%. And this was a women's North American championship defense match, which sees Stephanie Vaquer, the current champion, defending against Karmen Petrovich.
Who came to the ring as well with, was it a Shanti Adonis?
Yeah, that's him.
That's the Badgers. So we've got the three of them ringside, and what on paper is meant to be a very good match. Obviously, we know Stephanie Vaquer can go. She took this title off Fallon Henley at Vengeance Day. So we've seen a lot from Karmen Petrovich the last few weeks in different matches with Jada Parker and Kalani Jordan. So on paper, this is a great match, and it definitely gives us a great way to start off this week's episode of NXT as well.
Oh, 100%. And you know what? I think this was definitely the way to open NXT, as it was a phenomenal match, phenomenal performance from both women in this match as it goes. I mean, this was Petrovich's first championship like opportunity at least in WWE. I'm not sure of the wider sort of indies or anything like that, but certainly within WWE, this was Carmen's very first opportunity at championship gold. And not going to lie, she did put the work in for it. I mean,
yeah,
Karmen has got a very interesting approach to offense. I mean, at one stage, she'd managed to get some kind of modified full Nelson hold.
Yeah.
Which, I'm not going to lie, even made me sort of comment out loud to a completely empty room.
That's the one she used her legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a really impressive move, to use your legs to put someone into a full Nelson. That's yeah, you've got to have some strength in your hips and thighs for that.
Oh, 100%. It's bordering on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to be doing that sort of shit. So,
yeah, even I put it down as it looked like it was MMA inspired more than anything. I couldn't work out sort of which one of the martial arts you could have picked it from, but I knew that was a martial art move.
Yeah. Sort of, and I just got down that it was a fantastically technical match, which we've come to sort of expect from NXT's women's division, is that while they can go for the flashy, high-flying, all singing, all dancing moves, these women can get down and do some proper wrestling, as it goes as well. So we really don't know what we're getting from one match to the next with a lot of the female superstars.
You don't, and it used to be a case of you could pick that the female matches were never going to be as good, or they were always going to be the weaker matches on the card. Where these days, actually, that's not the case. I think some of these women's matches completely outshine some of the male matches on the card these days, because of how good the female talent is within the women's division on all three brands at the moment.
I think it's also sort of props to the establishment as well, to a certain degree. You think back to like the Attitude Era and the Golden Eras, and like way back when a lot of promotions didn't give women the time of day.
And if they did, especially with this is more at the Attitude Era, they would kind of use more in a more vulgar way, lots of bra and panties matches and lube fights and shit like that, where these days they're actually trained athletes as well as just kind of being there to satisfy Vince's deprived needs, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Apparently nothing has been proven, or if it has, it's been
very cost effective
and paid for.
Yeah, very cost effective.
But yeah, I mean, we can't sort of put over the champion in this case enough either, because Stephanie Vaquer, we already know, is an extremely talented individual, and she, just very much bought something a little bit extra to this being her very first title defense.
And we saw a few new moves from her as well. I can't remember seeing her hit a 619 in previous matches. They referred to it as a tiger feint kick. The commentary team did, but it was definitely a 619.
So that's become a regular move set for Stephanie in recent weeks, because I normally always make a point to mention that she, in pretty much all of her matches, we see her hit this 619, and it's done beautifully. But it is a case that, they're not referring to it as a 619, even though anybody with sort of half a brain cell can see exactly what it is. So they're not fooling anybody. If they think they are, they're certainly not.
Well, they haven't fooled us anyway. Well, fooled you.
No, this is it. But I mean, one of the other things that one of the other moves that seems to be something that Stephanie is particularly known for, is a dragon screw leg drag. I know you've commented on this before, Rich.
Yeah, it's naughty the way it looks like such a mediocre move, but in theory, and with someone who's got knee issues themselves, that's got to hurt like a bitch. And I know I've pointed out before, it is a beautiful looking move.
And I mean, the one that she pulled on Petrovich in this match, even the commentary team sort of mentioned this move has some extra.
Petrovich sold it so well as well. Like we talk a lot about some of the moves that a lot of these superstars pull off, and obviously, they're only half the move. If the person giving it, the person taking that move is probably actually a lot more important. And some of the way that some of these superstars sell a move is incredible. And Karmen Petrovich has nailed the way she worked with Stephanie Vaquer and the way she sold each individual, move across the course of the match. But she sold them all so well.
I mean, the good thing about professional wrestling now is that the secrets of the business aren't that much secret anymore, which is a sort of a double-edged sword, because it's a good and a bad thing. It's good in the sense that people like me and you can sit here and talk about it, having never set foot in a wrestling ring ourselves. But I suppose it sort of takes some of the mystery out of it as well. Like, we know that 9 times out of 10, if a wrestler gets some colour or ends up bleeding for any reason, it's normally done completely on purpose.
Yeah.
And normally done by the wrestler themselves who gets colour. Even things like the basics of professional wrestling, one of the first things that you learn to take a bump, and then you're taught about the art of selling a move, which is obviously what Rich was just talking about, that you've got to be able to make the audience feel the pain you feel. And we get examples of, like, there's so many different, even just TV shows that depict behind the curtain for professional wrestling. I mean, probably not the most like well-known or reliable source was the TV series they did for Dwayne Johnson. What was it, Young Rock? Is that
possibly? I'm not going to lie, I don't really follow the off. I spend enough time each week watching wrestling as it is. I don't think I could sit and watch their offshoots as well, you know. Like WWE suck enough of my time.
Don't get me wrong, these are bits and pieces that I've sat and watched like prior to, like, just for the love of wrestling, really.
I did really enjoy the Paige biopic, but apart from that, I haven't really watched much else outside of.
Yeah, which again shows a wrestling academy that Paige was a part of, where they were teaching kids to run the ropes and take bumps and selling moves and shit like that. It's all these little nuances that seem like we wouldn't even think about it if we didn't know about it beforehand. It'd just be part of the performance. Yeah,
of course.
But sort of coming back round, because we digress enough on this podcast as it is. This match I thought was a phenomenal first match, a real contender for match of the night as it goes. Petrovich is hit with an SVB for a 3 count, and Vaquer ends up retaining her championship, which was well deserved for Vaquer.
Yeah, I'm not mad about the result at all. It was a clean, decisive win that makes Petrovich still look pretty big. Like, it didn't hurt her too much losing to a champion here. So it's not the end we're going to see of these two ladies for this title, I don't think.
No.
But I think the most intriguing part of this match, and the bit that I definitely enjoyed the most, is what came after the bell, so to speak. So you had your standard little sort of I don't know what you'd call it, to be fair. The embrace that the women normally do. There's normally a sign of respect between the women in some of these matches at the end with the winners.
Yeah.
And
I know what you mean. I can't quite think of the name either, but yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, we had at the end of this match, we had the NXT Women's Champion come out, Julia.
Yeah, she came and confronted Stephanie Vaquer in the ring. And
we know from previous weeks that Julia and Stephanie have got they're friends for the most part. So she came out to congratulate Stephanie, and I'm not going to lie, they've set up for one hell of a match, which I am really looking forward to.
Right, so what they've set up for is a match at NXT Roadblock in 2 weeks' time?
Yep, 2 weeks to Roadblock.
2 weeks to Roadblock, yes. So we are going to have Stephanie Vaquer versus Julia in a title versus title match, which means that the winner of that match will walk out with both of those titles. Now, since this went live and we are doing the recording for it, I have seen a story online which basically hints that Julia's got an injury that was requiring surgery, and this could be a useful spot for her to drop her title and then come back for it after she's had her surgery.
Ah, okay.
So, again, nothing official from like WWE or anyone like that, but I have seen that theory floating around on social media. So that could be an interesting change there.
But as long as they do it, they've now, the difficulty they're going to have is obviously making sure that that is done in a way that protects Julia from looking too bad. You don't want it to be a squash match. This is a champion versus champion match. It's going to be.
So we're going to get a hell of a match out of it. So they've got 2 weeks. They'll try and protect her, I reckon, over the next 2 episodes. Until we go into Roadblock, they'll give her probably a 20-minute match at Roadblock, and probably not even that. Probably about a 15-minute sort of like thriller for this champion title versus title match, and then we probably won't see much of her for a month or 2. Depending on what that injury is, if that is true.
No, this is it. So we're going to have to. We're going to have to try and. They're going to have to try and just keep an eye and find out what.
Be interesting what they do with it, because at the moment both Julia and Stephanie Vaquer are baby faces, so it's be interesting to see if they keep it that way, or if they keep us. They have one of them has a heel turn maybe in the next fortnight. Really hope they don't try and throw in a botched heel turn, or like a fast heel turn. Sometimes it's nice to see the breakdown of the baby face before you get that turn. If you get an instant turn, sometimes it doesn't have the shocking reaction you want it to. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it does, like when Seth Rollins put the chair through Roman Reigns in the Shield. Like, you couldn't have built up to that too much. You needed to just kind of hit him. I'm hoping they don't try and... They can't repackage one of them. If it really is an injury, they're not going to try and repackage Julia into a heel just to have her go off for surgery. And they can't really do too much with Stephanie Vaquer's character at the moment, purely for, they've just made her a champion and given her a retention. They're not going to mess too much with that finished product at the moment.
No, definitely not. And just because the beauty of it is, because it's a champion versus champion match, we don't necessarily need a heel and a heel and a baby face. It's a case that we have the option of just having it as, it could almost be like an exhibition, essentially. It's champion versus champion. And obviously the assumption is, because, for lack of a better way of putting this, Julia is the higher champion, if you like.
She's the more dominant champion, with her belt being the women's title rather than the North American title. Yeah,
so it is perfectly possible that or it is expected that she would win that match.
And come out so with
it would
both
be one
titles.
hell of a, it would be one hell of an upset victory for Julia to lose that.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to find out how that one sort of plays out. But
because they're going to kill one person to push either way, aren't they? But yeah, no, that was definitely a way to start. And what I liked about what NXT did here, I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong with this, is we got to the end of the match, we had the promo, and then we went into the next match.
So there's a few different promos that we went into.
You got the one with Ariana Grace and Santino Morello.
Yeah, so this was basically Grace and Morella were patting themselves on the back for how well they'd done with the collaboration, which 100%.
Yeah,
not going to take that away from them.
No, it was a good set of collaborations.
But then we have Lola Vice. Now, we haven't seen a lot of Lola Vice. I've got a feeling we have already seen her, but
Not under that packaged name, I don't think. I recognised her face, but I really can't think where I've seen her.
I think we've seen her under this name, but only once.
Okay.
I feel like we've only seen her once, and that's it.
Was she backstage doing something completely irrelevant?
No, I think she had like a one-off match with somebody. I could be wrong. I could be thinking of somebody else. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm thinking of somebody else. But yeah, she comes in basically. She wants a fight and ends up challenging Ariana Grace herself to a match later on in the night. Much to the seeming displeasure of Santino Marella, but he doesn't really get a say in this, unfortunately. And then we go from there backstage, where we see Lexus King. And Lexus King on his own is completely ridiculous. The painted on facial hair really, it's just something that really drives me up the wall. However, the only other more ridiculous thing is the size of that damn Heritage Cup.
Oh, mate, and he runs around with it all the time. Like, I'd be leaving that somewhere on the side of the ring and letting someone look after it during the episode. I would not be running around with that.
Well, I quite like the fact that that it's something different.
Yes.
Any other championship in any other promotion is a belt. So I like the fact that this is different, and I like that that's how they've chosen to.
Don't AEW have a
apart.
ring for their heavyweight championship?
No, I'm sure that AEW are still using a belt.
I thought they had a ring because Cody at one point had a champion's ring when he was over there. That's the only reason I thought.
They didn't while I watched it, but I haven't watched it in quite a while, so it's possible, I suppose, but not that I'm aware of. But he, carrying that massive cup round backstage, comes across Obafemi, who seems in quite good spirits, actually, all things considered. And basically King bragging about his match with TNA X Division champion Moose later on.
Yeah, that's not later on tonight, though, is it? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, no, Alexis King and Obafemi, sorry.
That is the next match.
It is, but Obafemi faces Moose at NXT Roadblock in Madison Square Gardens in 2 weeks' time.
He does. We find that out after the next match for it. But we go from one more thing just before that, and this is where commentary sort of show us a bit of an image taken from social media, where we see this mystery four that have been, well, absolutely wreaking havoc everywhere and anywhere they go. Outside of the picture taken and uploaded to social media of the four outside of the arena for it.
Yeah, so they're baiting us quite hard with this mystery four. I'm liking the build up to it, to be fair. I really want to know how they're gonna utilize them and whether we're going to see another faction come from somewhere to go up against them. So there's not really much in NXT that are going to stop them, especially last week after they laid Ricky Saints out. They've had some big scalps, to be fair, these guys. They've already laid Obafemi out. They've done Ricky Saints. They've laid out... who's the other people? They've got another lot of people, but I can't remember who they were off the top of my head.
They've gone through quite a lot.
Yeah, they have.
And they don't seem anywhere close to stopping just at the moment.
And they don't seem anywhere close to kind of pinpointing out who their main target is either. They've already hit some big names, so who else they could be looking to pick a fight with is kind of unsure yet.
I don't think there's a main target. I think the target for this group is just to make the biggest impact.
And cause carnage.
It's not entirely clear whether these guys are from, whether they're, well, we've said that, or I'm sure it's been mentioned somewhere that who they are suspected to be are in the performance center.
Yeah.
So it's assumed, I think, that they are WWE born, but we can't rule out the fact that these guys could be from TNA.
They could be. And say, we've got a name, and Google says that person is an American football player, not a professional wrestler, so we can't even use that as our sort of guidance at the moment.
No, and this is it, is that it's so difficult to try and pin this down to any one or two individuals that it's difficult to get a read on who they are until they give us some more information. But we then go into match 2, which is a men's singles match for the TNA X Division Championship match. Now, this is
history making.
First.
You're just
saying. A bit of a first for a non-WWE title to be defended on WWE's programming.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. I was not. Lexis King is not the person that I'd have given that responsibility to if I was Ava personally. For when it comes to being NXT's half of that TNA X Division Championship match, like
yeah, there are definitely the word. There are definitely people I would have given that to other than Lexis King, but
yes,
I suppose Lexis King was also the one that put his name forward for it, maybe. So
it's also Lexis King's hometown in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I suppose they have you've got the hometown boy going for a title match. He was going to always get the crowd behind him for this one, wouldn't he? So it kind of gives you a little sort of David and Goliath feel to this match.
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, the size difference between the two is very David and Goliath as well, to be completely honest with you. So
yeah, Lexis King looks like nothing when he stood next to Moose, didn't he? And you look at Lexis King normally and think, all right, he's a big boy. Right, you know, he's bigger than I am. And yeah, no, Moose just towers over him. Makes him look like a bitch.
Yeah, and the performance in the match doesn't leave much more to the imagination, realistically.
No. I'm not going to lie.
Very much.
I've never seen Moose wrestle before. I don't watch TNA. I might have to start after watching this match, if I can find time in my schedule. But goddamn, for a huge dude, he can hit some moves.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I did not expect this guy to move the way he did. Like, he started off very much doing what I expected him to do, which was using his size and everything else to pretty much dominate the competition. And
I think
then he started flying
for a chop contest, you know.
Like, 100%.
Yeah, but you say this guy flies.
That is an interesting sort of dream match then, really. Gunther versus Moose.
Well, yeah, I mean, that I didn't even think about that. But yeah, no, the way Moose chopped Lexis King, then Lexis King went down like he'd been shot. And then for, you know, a little while later, would I be wrong in saying that Moose hit some form of Frankensteiner? Is that the move that he... For some reason,
Literally combing through my notes to see if.
or is it Hurricane Rana or something along those lines? I remember him hitting something with Lexis King being up on the ropes that was more of a holy shit.
And I don't. Drop kicks King out of the ring after he was sat on the top turnbuckle. Springboard crossbody slam. I don't have anything about a Hurricane Rana, so either I missed that completely or just didn't make a note of it. I'm not sure.
I might have dreamt it. It has, but no, I'm sure I saw something somewhere along those sort of lines. But I might have to go back and rewatch it just to remind myself. But apart from that, this match had some quality moments in it.
Oh, 100%. If this is what we've got to look forward to from like the future,
especially with Moose holding that title, that's you know for a fact at some point we're going to end up with Moose versus Obafemi for a title match, but I'm not sure which title it's going to be. But if you see Moose put that thing up in more often in NXT, someone's going to snap his hand off at that.
100%. And I mean, so King does not walk out of this. Well, I'm pretty sure he didn't walk out of this at all, to be quite honest.
I think he was carted out of this, to be fair. He barely kicked out of that jackknife powerbomb. So, you know, when he had that last sort of boot and the spear, he wasn't moving.
No, definitely not. And we've definitely not seen the last of Moose, which I'm always happy to will be glad to see some more of him, because he certainly weren't there when I was originally watching TNA. I've seen some bits and pieces online on social media, but TNA is not something I've been watching as of late. And yeah, like yourself, I'm wondering what I've been sort of missing out on almost.
Yeah, well, one thing we're not missing out on is the fact that after, you know, Moose has finished, I wouldn't even say he got the opportunity to finish celebrating. He was in the process of celebrating. We got Obafemi come out, which is obviously the NXT World Heavyweight title holder. And a great job he's doing with that at the moment to confirm the match between both Obafemi and Moose at Roadblock in 2 weeks' time at Madison Square Gardens, New York. Yeah, which is going to be a hell of a match.
Oh, 100%. I am 100% there for that match. Because again, it was teased as title versus title. But
I'm not sure if they were just showing off the fact they were both title holders.
Yeah, I got the impression that it was very much put down as a title versus title match, but it could just as easily. I think somewhere later on in the episode, it gets confirmed as a Obafemi. I think Obafemi's defending the NXT title.
I think so, rather than Moose. Yeah, offering.
I will have it noted down somewhere towards the end of my notes to when they actually did it. And yeah, so we'll confirm that.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to need your help confirming as well is the next VT. Was this it was the D'Angelo family one, wasn't it?
So I've got the next VT as being the Sean Spears one. Now, this one's been put out on social media, this particular one. This was it felt a little bit like an infomercial type thing, if I'm honest, because this was Sean Spears going through essentially everybody who's in his crew, being Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, Izzy Dame, basically say, yeah, this was them before, and then after the Sean Spears treatment, they're 100% better off than they were before, or something to that degree.
Yeah, he's really kind of taking steps here about kind of trying to make sure that you can see that there's a difference in level between Sean Spears and then the rest of his cronies. He's definitely trying to increase that level, kind of like as though he's trying to turn himself into like a cult god, if you know what I mean.
I think that's how they're trying to portray him at the moment, and yeah, I mean, he does seem to very much suit the role almost.
Definitely.
But this is where we find out that next week there is an NXT Men's North American Championship match between Sean Spears and Tony D'Angelo.
I mean, we haven't seen Tony D'Angelo since his last title defense in the steel cage, where it was Sean Spears that gave him the ass kicking them, wasn't it? That sent him into overdrive.
Sean Spears, Nico Vance. This was where Izzy Dame turned on him.
Yep.
Or revealed herself as not part of the D'Angelo family. Which, in fairness, she always said she wasn't.
Yeah, she never claimed she was part of that. She just hung around with the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and obviously said all the right things in all the right ears as well. We then went to a small social media VT, where we see from Anna Grace's social media, we see that it's her and Kalani Jordan just arriving at the arena in Cincinnati. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure why Kalani Jordan would be on that bus. It's only something I thought about afterwards, because she plays no active part in this card. So why would they bother bringing her out? Why would she have been on the bus? But regardless, she was on the bus talking about Jada Parker, who basically was in the background. Words were exchanged, and the VT cuts out just as I think the first punches are thrown, pretty much. So things heating up between Kalani Jordan and Jada Parker as well.
Now you've mentioned it, and I've just scrolled through my notes. That is that's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's something that never dawned on me.
Why bring her out
until that point?
Right? She's got no place in the card at all.
She does not feature in this episode apart from in that VT. So if they brought her along literally to appear in a 30 to 45 second long video,
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the easiest payday she will have ever had.
Well, definitely. But then, you know, if you're an idiot like me and you missed an episode and Netflix doesn't like the fact you missed an episode, at least you didn't spend 20 minutes this morning making the notes on a 3-week-old episode. Which did feature Kalani Jordan.
Yeah, this is true. We forgive you your indiscretions. It's fine. Right. Anyway, we go from there to an in-ring promo for Jordan Grace.
Yes. She basically
excited by this promo.
No. No. I mean, apart from getting to see the greatest free agent that TNA ever let go, you know, there's one aspect to it. The other aspect is she had a great match last week and she teamed up with Julia and Stephanie Vaquer that I was kind of hoping we'd get to see a little bit more action this week. It turned out it was, you know, a promo more than a match, but, you know, it's better than nothing.
It was. So basically, this was Jordan Grace laying out the expectation of what we can expect to see from her now she's NXT rather than TNA. Basically looking for gold, as every wrestler should be. They should all be chasing gold. And
she's made no qualms about who she's coming in and looking at. As we saw her looking at both titles last week and when she was stood in the ring with Stephanie and Julia.
Yeah, this is it. I mean,
She was having a
she'd
good
be a
old
perfect.
gasp.
She'd be a perfect fit for either title. So interesting to see which one it is that she ends up going for. Because I mean, after Roadblock, they could very well be against the same person anyway.
Oh, and that would lead into a nice one, wouldn't it? You have Stephanie Vaquer come out of Roadblock holding both titles, and then obviously because she's one of the younger, less experienced guys in NXT with a title, have her drop the main one to someone like Jordan Grace for a couple of months after she's kind of had an opportunity to jump herself in with a few matches and get herself up to speed.
Yeah,
And it would also build on the Jordan Grace character, where she calls herself the Juggernaut, and she's just come straight in, destroyed, walked off with the title.
Yeah, this is it.
Like a sort of thing Charlotte Flair would do, but we actually want her to do this.
Yeah, this is a blonde wrestler that we can actually stand, rather than Charlotte Flair being a blonde Skeletor that we can't stand. So
she's got a dad's haircut now. It's brilliant.
Yeah, the one thing that we weren't expecting from this was a visit from one Roxanne Perez.
Yeah, someone was testing out the size of their cojones, which is a little bit strange considering how much time she's been spending on Raw. And with her spot in the Elimination Chamber on Saturday as well, it was not expected to see her show up in NXT.
And Perez was not shy about it. She did not mince any words in this promo. I mean,
she never does. She's an angry little dwarf, and she says exactly what she means.
Yes, very true. I mean, Perez talks about Grace having been a big fish in a small pond when she was with TNA, with the TNA knockouts.
She's not wrong, but that's still a little bit disrespectful. It was definitely a very Roxanne Perez style promo, this one that she cut.
Oh, but Jordan Grace does not take this line down, because at one point Perez is like, I don't know what you're coming over here for, coming into my division. And Jordan Grace comes back with, I'm not going to lie, really simple line, but it hit hard.
Where's your title?
Perez, yeah, where's your title to lay claim to this? To lay claim to this being your division, but you're not holding a title in,
right? And that would say she's had one foot in Raw for the last few weeks as well. So it's definitely a surprise to see her.
I mean,
she's Perez
Perez tries to come back at Jordan Grace, basically saying, well, previous event, I was the champion. You came in to try and take that championship from me and failed. And then Perez goes on to set some lofty goals to become Roxy Two Belts, as she seems to think she's going to go on to win the Elimination Chamber and then beat Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania to become the Raw Women's Champion, and then come back to NXT to take the NXT Women's title as well, to become a record-holding 3-time NXT Women's Champion, and also go by the name of Roxy Two Belts. I mean, those are some very lofty ambitions for
such a small person. Perez. Yeah, in the crowd, were getting right behind that Roxy Two Belts. They were chanting that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to see Roxanne Perez get a push, I think going on that kind of a push would be going overboard.
Yeah, she's not being Rhea. Well, it might not even be Rhea. It could be Io.
Yeah, I mean, if Io Sky would win her title shot at next week's Raw, it's a case that she will go on to potentially in the reality where Roxanne Perez comes out of the chamber as a winner, she would go on to face Io Sky, which I'm not going to lie, would be
It'd be a good match.
it would be a very good match.
On paper, that's a very good match. But that's dream match material there.
Realistically, we're not predicting in any way, shape, or form that Rhea Ripley is going to end up dropping her belt next Monday. So
No, definitely not.
But yeah, it's this is all sort of this. All of these fantastic points are rendered moot when Jordan Grace decides to just plain old cold cock Perez in the middle of the ring. In the middle of the ring, sending her sprawling rather unceremoniously outside of the ring.
Yeah. Well, Roxanne
and
Perez came into the ring, didn't use her inside voice, and Jordan Grace slapped her back outside.
Oh, 100%. And we're I think we're seeing the rebirth of a rivalry here between Perez and Grace. And yeah, I've got a feeling I'd have to go back and watch the match that she referenced, but I feel like these two could have a half decent match, you know.
I feel it doesn't do anything for either of them. Like,
no,
if you look at it, Roxanne Perez, she's off to the Elimination Chamber. She's having a push in the right direction, you know, and spending more time on Raw. Where Jordan Grace, she's already got that edge to her because a lot of professional wrestling fans know who she is from TNA. I'm not going to say, you know, I didn't, but yeah, she's already got that name behind her. She doesn't need someone like Roxanne Perez to put her over, so to speak. She's already built it, so it's a bit of a. Neither of them have really got too much to gain from it. But like I said, it's only the start. We might end up having things completely change at Elimination Chamber on Saturday.
I'd have thought, you know.
Oh dear God! Right.
So.
I love it when you say that.
Judgment Day have just had a going on a bit of a run where they're teasing potentially adding a new member against
Finn Balor's wishes, yeah.
Finn Balor's wishes. Do you not think Roxanne Perez would make a good fit for Judgment Day?
No, she's too Liv Morgan.
But that would create some more tension within the Judgment Day. Would Roxanne Perez be the little stick of dynamite that goes and blows them all apart?
Oh. Right, so Judgment Day are currently the women's tag holders.
Yeah.
Dom's
I think
getting
there's some
tasty with Braun. Finn's not really involved in much at the moment, match-wise, because his last match was the Rollins Elimination Chamber match.
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, there's some space in there for an extra person, but whether they use Roxanne Perez, it's a bit hit or miss. If it doesn't work, it's gonna kill her push. If it does work, it'd be
100%.
really, really useful to her.
I mean, if they put her in, if no matter where they put her, if whatever they do with her doesn't work, 100% it kills her push.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. It's sink or swim. She's either going to flourish on the main roster, which to a certain degree, if she's booked correctly, I think she will, or she's going to completely flop and end up back at NXT anyway. And that
Just
could
send her back,
that
repackage her, and try and push her again.
Well, I don't even think they'd need to necessarily repackage her. I think if there's the potential for a fallback storyline where her main roster push doesn't go to plan, it then completely kills any confidence she had as the prodigy.
Yeah.
And that turns it into a face turn. Because at the minute she's quite heelish.
Yes.
She's quite standoffish. I think there's definitely a potential for, if they do fuck up her main roster push, they could 100% send her back to NXT, tail between her legs sort of thing, and basically try and rebuild herself from there. I
Give
mean,
her a
surely
couple of squash
they may,
matches and then a few harder ones just to make it look like she's doing a better job.
yeah, trying to rebuild her confidence and things like that. It's there's a potential there. As I said, there's legs no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll have to wait and see. It's just
Yeah.
a thought.
It is definitely. It's a good
Anyway,
call though. We went from the Jordan Grace Roxanne Perez in-ring promo into a backstage promo with Trick Williams and Javon Evans.
yeah. So Trick Williams was. I couldn't figure out if he was reading something online or if he was in a video chat with somebody else and we just couldn't hear them.
I didn't pay too much attention, but yeah.
I've put down that he was reading something online and reading it out loud to himself or thinking out loud to himself because he's bless it. I mean, Trick Williams has been the golden child of NXT for a little while now, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And his foray into 2025 so far has been nothing short of diabolical.
I don't think we've seen him pick up a win yet, have we?
Well, no, he's on a prolific losing streak for 2 months straight because he lost his NXT men's title to Obafemi on the first NXT on New Year's Evil.
Yep.
And since then, he has done nothing but lose. Most recently to Eddie Thorpe in a strap match
Yes.
at Vengeance Day.
So that was at the last PLE.
It's a case that I think Javon Evans, he's quite a young kid. He comes up, tries to basically make Trick Williams feel a little bit better, but I think Trick Williams is too bitter to sort of see that what Javon Evans was doing was a nice thing. He was trying to be friendly.
Yeah,
because we also see Ricky Saints come along and do the same thing, and Trick Williams does more or less exactly the same to him, but realizing he's outnumbered,
tells them to foxtrot Oscar without being quite so blunt. Wasn't far short of it though.
Yeah, this is it. But a definite heat between Javon Evans and Trick Williams, and I'm not sure I like the look of that rivalry. If that's what they end up trying to push toward, is get Javon Evans and Ethan Page out the way, and then move him on to a feud with Trick Williams. I don't see it being believable.
No, and Trick Williams has already stated that he's not done with Eddie Thorpe. So
yeah,
it feels like there's not much substance to this specific sort of promo.
Yeah, this is it. Now, the next promo we go to is where the problems begin.
Oh.
So this was the Sarah Schreiber interviewing Jada Parker in the locker room, I think it was. However, this is where I'm not sure if this is a Netflix thing or if this is a WWE production thing, but it's one of the two of them.
Someone fucked up.
And whoever it is, well and truly deserves to get sacked, because this promo was completely ruined by somebody's inability to edit properly.
Yeah, I mean, we do basic editing for the podcast, and we could probably have done a better job. Like, someone screwed the pooch massively here.
It's almost as if it was done on purpose with how regularly it was done. I mean, we don't use like fantastically complex software to edit the podcast together. I mean, I use if I do the editing, I use something different to what Rich uses, but we achieve the same result. And it's a case that, like, I mean, we've both edited things that are a lot more complex than this podcast. And yeah, I agree with Rich. I think either one of us, given an hour, could have cut that together so much better than
It's like
whichever.
someone pulled over one of the filters that the basic video editing software give you for free. You know, like the effects for transitions. It's
Yeah.
like someone's accidentally pulled one of them into the work line while they've been editing it and not realised, rendered it off and gone, fuck it, no one will notice. We noticed.
Yeah, well, I was going to say finishers and factions noticed, and yeah, so I watched this promo back a couple of times just to try and see if I could get the bare bones of what was being said.
I'm glad you did, because I didn't even bother trying.
Well, I didn't. For the sake of the podcast, I swallowed my pride and decided I wanted to go down that route. And from what I found, or from what I managed to glean, bearing in mind I got 2 or 3 words and then it cut out again. Jada Parker feels that Kalani Jordan's suffering with a massive confidence issue since losing the North American title to Fallon Henley. This was before the the Netflix era, and the other bit that I got was that Parker don't play no more. She doesn't want whatever confidence struggle this is. If Kalani wants a fight, Jada's there for it. Which, yeah,
That's been building for a little while, though, isn't it?
Yeah. We go from there. We also see some social media footage of the from the mystery foursome, who are making themselves felt by showing some earlier footage from an earlier match, but I couldn't quite tell whose match it was because I didn't recognise the ring gear. So I don't know if they had uploaded some footage of maybe a dark match that went on beforehand or
Possibility.
something along those lines.
I haven't. I was thinking about looking into whether they, what the dark matches were for these events, but there was so much extra information to sometimes take in within an episode that I didn't think it was needed.
Yeah, generally speaking, the dark matches don't feed into the story. So, and for those that are new to the wrestling world, dark matches are matches that are held before a television before a television taping, where it's not televised. They're the only people that see them are the ones that are there live. And this is normally where WWE use dark matches to get a feel for unproven talent. So, for instance, if somebody just came out of the performance center, they'd use them in a dark match and get a feel for whether they'd work on TV from there. One of the upshots of going to a live event is that you will see so much more than what is televised.
And you may even get to see The Miz.
Yeah, there are pluses and minuses.
Just be aware that if you go to NXT, you won't see The Miz, so you'll be fine. Just stay away from SmackDown.
Unless they happen to relegate him down to a coach of some description.
Oh dear God.
Anyway, we move on to match 3.
We do.
By far, one of the all-time. This was one of the matches I was really looking forward to that I knew was coming on this card.
Yes.
And we saw No Quarter Catch Crew, Tavian Heights and Miles Bourne face off against one of the best tag teams to ever step inside that squared circle. Matt and Jeff Hardy.
I was going to say, I didn't see the Dudley Boys. No, we've definitely got.
You had to go there, didn't you?
I didn't see the. Yeah, no. To be fair, I couldn't resist that one. But yeah, it's so nice to see Matt and Jeff Hardy in a WWE ring again, even if they were offering up their TNA tag titles.
So, with this one thing that I really I wasn't 100% sure what they do, is I'm not sure what entrance music they're using in TNA. But I'm guessing it's not the same one that they played at the NXT event, as the NXT event played the Hardy Boys from WWE.
I mean, I
Now,
suppose they're on
I wasn't.
WWE TV, so I'm guessing they would use their, because WWE won't have the same rights that TNA would have to be able to use their entry music from TNA on TNA TV.
But we saw Moose earlier on come out to his TNA entrance music. So I'm pretty sure the rights, as per the talent share contract that WWE and TNA have, it's a case that
Well, you'd
their
need to be able to
music
use your own
transfers
music,
over.
wouldn't you? Yeah.
Like, for instance, we've both seen like clips of Obafemi at TNA's most recent televised event, and I saw him on a ring entrance using his NXT entrance music there, which I love Obafemi's entrance.
Oh, then
It's so
maybe I'll
simple.
just throw it out there that the conspiracy is they've used the WWE entry music because when their contract expires, there's going to be yet another return of the Hardy Boys for one last run. Even though I'm not going to lie to you, after watching this match, I mean, do not get me wrong, great match. It was, Quarter Catch Crew definitely put on a hell of a performance against these veterans of the ring. But Matt Hardy looked like he was struggling. Like,
Well,
he
this is
generally
the
looked
thing.
old and gassed. Yes, I know he's 50. I get it. Like, I feel old and gassed and I'm only mid-30s, but dude, please don't let yourself go the same way as some other wrestlers have gone. Just take it in your prime and go.
This is the thing, though, is that I agree with you. Tavian Heights and Miles Bourne did put on a very good performance, and I think to a certain degree they carried the match.
Yes.
Because obviously Matt and Jeff, while they are still fantastic in-ring talents and can still pull off a lot of the moves that me and Rich remember watching as children and imitating as children, despite the fact that you do not try this at home.
I'm so glad we never attempted that spear off the ladder.
Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, the most I ever did was a couple of dozen swanton bombs off the corner post of my bed. I delivered them to quite a degree of proficiency as well. But this was when I was a lot younger. I think if I were to try and do it now, I'd probably make myself sick and dizzy.
I'd end up feeling some sort of pain.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, as it stands, Matt and Jeff put on the best performance I think they could have done.
Yes.
And I agree. I think Matt is certainly starting to feel it more than Jeff. I mean, I think he's been preserved, to be quite honest.
Well, that
through his
guy's taken
previous
enough pain medication over the years that he's going to be high for the rest of his life, so it doesn't really matter what he puts himself through. He's never going to feel it.
But having said that about No Quarter Catch Crew, the live audience that was there were not giving them any room to breathe, as at one point they were chanting, "You're not ready,"
Which,
and it's a case that
I think that was definitely very disrespectful. Like,
they're not the best tag team in
the
NXT
division, no.
by far, but regardless of that, still managed to put on an impressive performance, and really don't think it was warranted that the crowd was shouting at them that you're not ready. I mean,
No.
consummate professionals that they are, they ignored them and carried on. But
See, you've got that. I've written down, and I did have to use some assistance with my notes this week with the internet. They've got it down with them as chanting "You're not Randy" because he's got a slight resemblance to Randy Orton.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, that's according to the internet with what I use this week. Yeah, no, it says "You're not Randy" because he looks like Randy Orton,
Oh, then I could have got it wrong.
which
I
he
thought
sold
I
with
heard
his
"You're not
visible
Randy."
annoyance, working on the heel aspect of it.
Okay. The possibility that I got that wrong then.
I can't remember which one. I didn't make a note of which one it was. I really struggled sometimes with these tag teams to work out who the members are. I find the names and I recognise the names, but trying to work out which wrestler's which, I'm like, fuck it.
The only one it could have been is Miles Bourne.
Well, fair enough then.
Because Matt and Jeff Hardy certainly don't look like Randy Orton.
Nope.
And with the greatest of respect to Tavian Heights, he's black.
That is a good point.
So
yeah.
Miles Bourne is the obvious choice for that one in that respect, because the only other people out there were Charlie Dempsey and Ren Sinclair, also of No Quarter Catch crew.
Yeah, and Charlie Dempsey is definitely not bald.
Now, the one thing that I actually found funny while we mentioned Ren Sinclair is I made a note right at the beginning of the match that the pop for when the Hardy Boys came out, when that music hit, that the roof blew off.
I think I know what you're about to mention.
And it's the fact that even Ren Sinclair
was doing the
threw up some hands at one point and started with it and was like, I think Charlie Dempsey. I think we see Charlie Dempsey give her a nudge. It was like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? And she was like, oh, I'm sorry.
It's just it reminds me a little bit of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory on Monday Night Raw, with Theory's almost as the yeet, and Grayson Waller's like, you what are you doing? You're doing his thing now.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is that we've got to remember that a lot of these guys are fans first. It's not a case that they're completely inhuman. They're not going to be able to sit there if they see something they like, they're going to react to it. A lot of the guys that have been doing this for years will be able to sort of turn that part of their brain off almost. But
now you've mentioned it, I'm going to bring it up. I saw a clip online of the guy, of the real life Jacob Fatu at a WrestleCon event, and he was meeting the Boogeyman for the first time. And this guy literally, like, he was prancing around like a 5-year-old child meeting John Cena. Like, he was just bouncing everywhere, and like he's a professional wrestler himself, you know, and he gets to do all this cool stuff. Yet meeting the Boogeyman was like, oh my fuck, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. There's they were getting like videos for I'm hoping it was a promo, but yeah, there was a video thing where he was recording. Jacob Fatu was recording the Boogeyman say something, and he just grabbed his phone and he's like, yes.
I am the Boogeyman.
I think that was it, to be fair. But yeah, it was so cool just to see these guys acting like fans rather than, you know, just guys that are in the business and know all the tricks. But I didn't take a lot of notes for this match purely for the fact that I couldn't get over the fact that I was watching the Hardy Boys on WWE TV again. I really want Jeff to get that final run.
I was in very much the same sort of headspace with it, is that I sort of very much got lost in the fact that I was sat watching the Hardy Boys, which is one of, if not my favourite tag team of all time. It's a case that I sat and watched these guys. I've watched these guys in multiple promotions, not just WWE. I've sat and watched them in
TNA,
AEW. AEW, yeah, really very much sort of followed their careers as they've made the rounds, and
we got to see all the things that we'd expect to see from a Hardy Boys match as well. We got a Swanton, we got a Twist of Fate, We didn't get a Whisper in the Wind, which I was a little bit... Was it Willow in the Wind?
No, Jeff Hardy does deliver a Whisper in the Wind.
Oh.
So we got Twist of Fate, we got Swanton Bot. They played all the classics.
Yeah, it was the Poetry in Motion. That was it. It was the... That's what the Whisper in the Wind is, in theory, and it's just another name of.
Yeah.
I think it was more what Jeff uses when he uses his alter ego, more than when he's just Jeff Hardy. It's more Poetry in Motion. And...
Yes, I suppose it is. But yeah, the only other thing of note that I had to do this, it was sort of, we see Fraxium come and set up chairs on the ring entrance at one point, which causes a small distraction.
Nothing of major issues though.
No, but we do see after Matt and Jeff unanimously pull off a
Twist
win.
of Fate Swanton combination, wasn't it, for the win?
Yeah. And Fraxium joined the Hardys in the ring to congratulate them and welcome them back to WWE, because this is their first match in WWE in what feels like forever. And we then get basically told that at Roadblock, Fraxium will face the Hardy Boys for the TNA Tag Championships. Now, we know that Fraxium have done a lot of work of defending the
NXT titles on TNA TV.
So, knowing that they're going out of their way, if you like, to make sure that it's all done as fairly as possible, is actually quite nice. It's nice to know that that TNA isn't getting more of our shit than we are of theirs, if you like.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, so already just from tonight, Roadblock is looking phenomenal.
Well, yeah, Roadblock is looking fantastic, and then I think it's going to start looking even better. So we go into a VT after this with the D'Angelo family, obviously kind of a response to the one with Sean Spears earlier. They've got their match next week for the men's North American title. Could we see that title be defended again at Roadblock in 2 weeks' time at Madison Square Gardens?
I think that entirely depends on what we see.
Because at the moment, this is just a singles match. Well, it's a title match, but it's a singles match. There's no other stipulations to it at the moment, unless that turns into another thriller, which I don't think Tony D'Angelo's got in him at the moment, to be fair. I mean, we haven't seen him since his last match, which was in a cage against... Oh, I had his name on the tip of my tongue then, and it's just gone like a fart in the wind. No.
That's who he faced in the cage.
Was it?
I believe so.
No, I know they came in afterwards and gave him a bit of a kick in.
No, you're quite right. Fuck, I can't remember what his name is.
Right, I'm going to get to scrolling.
Yeah, I'm turning my pages as quickly as I can because I'm looking for the name. As soon as I see the name, it will fuck me off that I couldn't think of it sooner.
I want to say it begins with an H, but I'm not 100% sure. Rich Holland.
That's him.
That's the Badger. So yeah, no, there could be something coming there. We could see it end up being defended in quite a quick succession, especially if it ends up getting dropped and then picked back up again a week later. Not that they do that or shouldn't do that, but
No, I think we've seen them do that on too many occasions before. I don't think we're going to see them do that again for a little while somehow.
let's hope not. Let's hope not. And we'll find out a little bit more about that after Tony D'Angelo meets up with Sean Spears next week for his North American title.
Yeah, 100%.
No,
Yeah, so
backstage with Sol Ruka and Zarya next, wasn't it?
it was, yeah. So this was a trainer room a trainer room promo where we see, as you said, Sol Ruka sort of tending to what appeared to be a wrist sprain for Zarya after they've been doing handstands.
I wasn't sure if this was referencing the fact that Zarya does that move in the ring where she handstands on the top turnbuckle and then swings herself round into kicking the person in the bottom turnbuckle, or whether it was the fact that they'd been fucking around doing TikTok videos like American Alpha like to do, and she'd hurt herself that way.
So I don't think that was what they were referencing. I've got to admit, when they originally said about she'd sprained her wrist, my immediate thought was she's been back on the roller skates again, because they've been doing some bonding outside of the
wrestling ring,
outside of the wrestling ring, just trying to basically make the best of their time together, I suppose. But what we see is something I didn't expect to see from here. We saw the entrance in the background of Piper Niven, who has been acting as the security guard for
Chelsea Green.
Yeah,
I'm fed up of hearing this woman's voice right now. But Chelsea Green is NXT's Charlotte Flair.
Well, Chelsea Green is main roster, and plus she's the current United States champion. So the one place we would not expect to see her is in NXT, of all places.
Piper Niven maybe,
but basically they get Chelsea Green obviously thinks very, 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 very highly of herself, and basically calls both Sol Ruka and Zarya trash after Piper Niven clears the rest of the training room by asking. I wasn't sure. I'd have to point that out just in case Rich decides he wants to make a smart ass remark. But
you know me too.
Yeah, I do, mate. I do. And yeah, so calls them both trash, and Sol Ruka basically points out that a little bit like Trick Williams, Chelsea Green's not been on too much of a win streak recently either.
No, but hasn't put her title up in a way to lose it either. She's been
she seems to have been more focused on tag team matches recently.
She has been,
and trying to get into the Elimination Chamber. But we know that I believe it is Friday on SmackDown. GM Nick Aldis has got something very special in mind for both Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and we've theorised that it could well be that they end up having to face one another.
Oh, I mean, that would be interesting.
That was one of your ideas. Now, when Sol Ruka points out Chelsea Green's losing streak, Piper Niven pulls out the one thing that I would never have thought and probably made Rich tense up just a little bit as she pulls out a taser.
Oh, you bastard. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it definitely tensed up a little bit when that taser got pulled, I'm not going to lie. A little bit of PTSD there. Oh.
But this is where Zarya challenges Piper and Chelsea to a tag match. Nobody explicitly agrees to this match, but it's still going ahead.
Well, I think, yeah, Piper challenges them, and you know what the other two are like. They're not going to take an opportunity to give Chelsea Green a beat down, are they?
Well,
Like,
Sol Ruka and Zarya are on a kind of a win streak
well,
at the
yeah,
minute.
that's what I'm saying. They're not going to miss that opportunity to give someone a beat down. If that's Chelsea Green, then that's a big name in both their hats to be taken, especially
Yeah.
considering they've not been a tag team for very long.
Yeah, this is it. And so we're due to see Piper Niven and Chelsea Green tagging off against Sol
Sol
Ruka
Ruka
and
and
Zarya.
Zarya, and that's next week's NXT. And I believe that is also from. Is that from Toronto as well? Are they
No,
staying up there?
NXT, I believe next week is from the Performance Center again, if I remember correctly. I didn't make a note of it, so that is pure
Conjecture.
memory. Now, the next match, I didn't
But
get a massive amount on because, quite honestly, this match,
boring as fuck.
it was a squash match.
Yeah, it was. So the
Now,
next
this
match
was
was.
the.
Oh, carry on.
Go ahead.
On. I was going to say the next match was the Ariana Grace versus Lola Vice match, which is the finishing off of the conversation that was had with Santina Morella earlier. And
Yeah. Now, the only distressing part I find about this is that Lola Grace went to both of them for a fight,
yes,
and I don't really class what happened in this ring as a fight.
no, I would agree with you on that one.
So this match really was very pointless. It was a filler at best. The only interesting part of that match was a small VT which played afterwards, which seemed to come as a shock to everybody, where there was a commotion from backstage, where we see some, possibly the Mystery Four have made their way backstage and
They laid
seem to be
out no
causing quite a
quarter
commotion.
catch crew quite well.
Well, I only saw like two, maybe three people in masks, which is what makes me think it's the Mystery Four, but we don't really get anything else other than that. So yeah, a little bit of an odd one, but we move on.
One
The
thing I am
next
just going
was
to clarify before we push on too far is yes, Lola Vice did win her match against Ariana Grace. We didn't throw that one in there, but yeah, that was won by Lola Vice quite decisively before we went into that VT.
fair enough. I've got to admit, I thought it was implied on the fact that it was a squash match, but yeah, I suppose we should clarify that. But
We cut
yeah,
it
we'll
off.
move on from there.
Yep.
VT promo was next one, I believe.
I had the in-crowd interview with Ava and Sarah Schreiber with the announcements for Roadblock.
So I've got a VT promo with Eddie Thorpe where he talks about he's one of the only, as far as I'm aware, Native American pro wrestlers. So leans on that very heavily.
He does, and I think that's where a lot of his attire comes from as well, leading into his native history.
Yeah, and he talks about how his Native American ancestors were removed from this land and ignored, sort of put into
Reservations.
And forgotten about, left to fend for themselves. Thorpe likens it to what's happened to him after Vengeance Day, after he beat Trick Williams, because he just generally feels like he's been put out to pasture. He got this massive win, and then nothing else has been done about it, which, do you know what? I can actually see his point.
Well, didn't he have like a squash match last week?
Yeah, but that's about it. And the fact
Yeah,
that
because he
even they're
absolutely
acknowledging the fact that it was,
destroyed Andre Chase last week, didn't he?
yeah, more or less. More or less. But yeah, it's a case that um, he's calling out Trick Williams one more time as if that's going to make it any better. If anything, I'd be looking to try and see if I could find a new opponent that might be able to do a little bit more for my standing in the company rather than keep beating the same drum, so to speak. But
Maybe find someone who's got a strap around his waist.
yeah, this is it. But then we move to the Sarah Schreiber interviewing Ava, who basically announces everything that
We've already done.
we've already covered. So this was
Obafemi versus Moose, Fraxium versus
for
the
the
Hardy Boys,
for the TNA Tag Championship.
and Stephanie versus Julia in their title versus title match.
Yeah. So all of these we've already covered. So skim straight past that, as that was literally everything that was announced in that promo. And then we move on to the last match, the main event match. This was the men's tag team match, which saw Wes Lee and All Ego Ethan Page versus Javon Evans and Ricky Saints. Now, I spoke to you off podcast about this match, and
We both agreed for what was
really disappointed.
Yeah. I don't think. I think someone somewhere, and with all the cut them out with some time. The problem I have is, I don't know about you, but in the build up to this match, I had like 5.5 minutes of just the NXT logo with some low music on. And I just ended up, the production value towards the end of this episode went out the window. So it just felt like we'd lost quite a chunk, and then it came in and then boom, match. And then, I don't really feel that it was given the time that it needed to progress into what it could have been. Because we know the 4 people that we've got in the ring at the moment with Wesley and Ethan Page, Javon Evans and Ricky Saints, that we should have a really good match. And even though what we did get wasn't disappointing, and I'm not mad at what we did get, it could have been a lot better.
So this was like my introduction to Ricky Saints. I'd never seen any of his work before.
No, this was the first match I've seen.
So didn't know what to expect. Ethan Page, we knew what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Javon Evans, I haven't seen a lot of him wrestle, but I knew what to expect.
Yeah.
Wesley, we've seen a few bits here and there. Again, didn't see a lot, but know what to expect. Especially when he comes out with Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe. We know that realistically,
someone's getting their ass kicked.
Yeah, pretty much. So we knew. Three out of the four men competing in the match, we knew what to expect. Ricky Saints, considering this was his very first match on WWE, and a lot of you may feel differently about it.
Wasn't
I didn't
great.
rate this match.
No, it wasn't great.
I feel like they could have done so much better, considering how much of a caliber of wrestler we're led to believe that Ricky Saints is. I just don't think this was the best way to introduce him.
He had a bit of an explosive start to his match. You know, like when he finally got in the ring, he had he cleared the ring out with Wesley, and he then managed to take out Igwe and DuPont off the apron. So he showed a bit of strength and considering he's not got a huge frame, and a bit of speed as well. But it was more of the whole match was really difficult to kind of keep an eye on what was going on, especially to make notes on as well, because it was a lot of quick tags and sort of brawly moments. There wasn't a lot of big spots, if you get me.
I think considering 9 times out of 10, when me and you talk about these episodes, we're normally referring to the main event as being the best match on the card.
It should be.
And that is, you're right, that is the way it should be. And that isn't what we got with this match.
No, we started off with probably one of the best matches and then finished off with something that I really, not going to lie to you, I'm probably not going to remember in 2 weeks' time.
No, this is it. It's going to be a case that, I mean, it's not just this match. The whole second half of the card, because of production issues and the general booking, was awful.
Yes.
It really was. It's considering like the week before we'd had with NXT, or even the way this had, like, we went from Vengeance Day, really good PLE.
Vengeance Day was incredible.
We went to the next week's NXT, fantastic episode, really enjoyed it. We then go to this week's episode where they're booking Ariana Grace versus Lola Vice as a squash match, which was dull as shit. No disrespect to the women in it, but it was. It's just awful booking. We had the Hardys, which I enjoyed watching for the nostalgia value. If it was based purely on the wrestling within the match, it was a passable match, but that was the beginning of the descent for this week's NXT. And then we finish on a main event which should have absolutely torn the house down. And in fairness, the crowd that were there seemed to be really behind the match.
It just didn't translate onto television.
With production issues and things like that, it really took away from any momentum that match had going in. We've had a lot since Ricky Saints did his contract signing last week
and got his ass handed to him by the Fatal Four.
He has had a lot of screen time. And I'm going to be honest, what we saw in that match was not worth what we paid for it, essentially.
No.
If I'd bought tickets to that event, and again, the crowd seemed to be behind that match, so maybe I would have felt differently about it. But based on what I saw on screen, if I paid money, bearing in mind that the top billing is going to be that main event match,
I'd be pissed at what I got. Yeah.
And again, maybe that's just mine and Rich's like opinion, or maybe that's just how we sort of felt about it. But yeah, I think it was overhyped.
Yes, I would completely agree with that.
There was no way for any of the guys in the ring to have kept up with that hype. I mean, at one stage, Ethan Page and Javon Evans fuck off out the building in their own little separate brawl and leave Ricky Saints on his own to face Wesley and DuPont and Igwe. And in fairness, he does a fantastic job of fending all three of them off.
He does.
And coming out of it with the win. Which shows a little bit of what I think we can hopefully a little bit of what we can expect from Ricky Saints moving forward.
I'm just hoping this was a little bit of ring rust.
Yeah,
just maybe a little bit of nervousness because it's his first match in a new company. I'm just hoping this isn't what we're going to get every week.
Yeah, because if this is, I'm really hoping they haven't paid top dollar for him.
Well, who's hotter than top dollar?
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that.
Well, yeah.
I didn't know Uncle Phil was in the game.
Yeah.
Who's hotter than top dollar? A lot. Yeah.
But
right. Anyway,
that's that done, and that match was as we said, finished by Ricky Saints planting Lee with a Rochambeau for the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and we close out the episode with Ricky Saints celebrating his first NXT win, and there was no other way that match was ever going to win. It was ever going to end. They made a big deal. It was a big deal about the fact that he had his,
they weren't going to let him lose that.
Albeit unplanned debut to NXT, where they shoved him out and said, "Yeah, talk for about 5 minutes."
There's a microphone. We need 10 minutes. Yeah.
And then the next week on NXT, they have him signing his contract, which
was a little bit of an event in itself. We broke that down in last week's episode of the podcast. If you want to scroll back down a couple of episodes and find that one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the promo itself, fantastic. Love the promo. It was all put together really well. All the players mixed really well. Fantastic. So I'm hoping that we don't have sort of maybe an Enzo Amore style wrestler, which is all mic skill and no substance.
And someone that we can kick continuously in the bollocks on promos on 2K25.
Yes, there is that.
If only we could have had Enzo Amore at the moment. After that video you sent me the other day, someone shoving a traffic cone up the Rock's ass with a finishing move.
We'd have had so much fun with that.
Right, we would have done. Right, enough of our adventures into 2K17.
Yes. Right, yeah, that is Finishes and Factions does NXT. And yeah, we're going to leave you all to do whatever it is you do throughout the rest of your week, and we'll be back with NXT does SmackDown.
And of course, we've got a bonus episode this week because on Saturday evening we have the Elimination Chamber. So over the weekend there will be some extra episodes popping up as we break that one down for you in our normal PLE style.
Yeah, we did the same thing with our Royal Rumble, so we'll be doing we'll record ourselves watching the chamber matches, and then break the other regular matches like the unsanctioned Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens match.
Yeah, baby.
Make up the rest of the card in our normal format. So keep your eye out.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah, 100%. Peace out.
Peace.